brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me. Ask the Paul, where we rise and don't fall.
Welcome back to another episode of Baxter's Buzz. I am your host, Baxter E. Hall. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my frequency. Enter at your own risk. Today, I have a returning guest. She is the founder of She Served LLC, leadership training and coaching, with a primary focus on veterans, but helping all individuals and businesses of all sizes. Lorrena Black, welcome back to Baxter's Buzz.
Hi, Baxter. Thanks for having me back again.
Yes, yes. Um, let's let's just catch up a bit. This I feel like the last time we recorded, I feel like there's been so much going on, and we haven't really had a catch up session. So,
Yeah.
um, I want to start by kind of telling you about my daughter Zara and sort of how her week has gone. So she had won the sixth grade spelling bee, and then she had to compete with the entire middle school, so
Awesome.
seventh and eighth graders. And she was, really nervous about it. Um, and then today in orchestra, she's part of a duet. She plays the violin, and she was nervous yesterday. She was, just kind of rehearsing last night, and I just trying to remind her that like what an opportunity you have. You have an opportunity, you have these goals, you get a chance to sort of work towards them, and then you get the chance to see how you measure up, right?
Yeah.
Like what better opportunity, is there than being able to work towards something and then say, I have the opportunity to sort of uh see where I measure in the midst of everyone. And I don't think she always looks at it that way, but can you think of um a time when you or when things started to turn for you, if you had reservations? I don't know if it was about speaking or anything just in general where you had to just kind of embrace some of that annoying or like that uneasiness. Like, can you think of any instances?
So many. Because I even just think, being in the military, right? Joining the military. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And then throughout my career, different opportunities when I went to ROTC and I'm 30 something, I'm already older than most of the people in ROTC and I'm competing against them. And I remember having this point where I was like, I'm not trying to compete with you. I just want to like stay on level with you. And I don't even know if I was really being honest with myself because deep down I like to win too.
Yeah.
But I thought I just wanted to be there. But that was uneasy. That was nerve-wracking leaving the military and stepping into, the civilian world. Same thing, you never know what to expect. And if you let kind of that fear hold you back, you could miss out on really great opportunities. And then even leaving Inform after 4 years and deciding to start my own business
Yeah.
like that, who knew, who
Yeah.
knew what was going to come from that. And I'm not sure if I answered the question. I kind of jumped, but that's what
No, I
came
mean
in mind.
partly, but I'm gonna double back and put you in the spot a little bit. But no, no, those are huge leaps each time.
Yeah.
I want to get back to this whole competition piece because I just
Yeah.
want to keep up with you, or like how long did you sort of have that thought, and did your thought process ever change? So like I really want to kick everyone's butt.
You know what's funny, Baxter, is it didn't it until like later when I reflect back. So when I started ROTC, and ROTC, if you think about it, is typically college kids, college young adults are there, but they do this program now. It's called the active duty option, where if you're on active duty, you can jump right in and come in as a junior and finish your last 2 years of college. So most of us that are active duty option are older. We've been in the military longer. So in my particular school, I was in Augusta, Georgia. So I went to Augusta State University for ROTC. And there were actually five of us that were prior service all starting at the same time. So we were all coming in either sergeant first classes, E7s in the military, E6s, like higher ranking non-commissioned officers now starting from the beginning in the officer slate. And I remember like I'd been in the military a long time, but running, I just was a struggle for me. Like I could pass my test, but I was running 2 miles in like 17, 18 minutes. And I remember the colonel and the sergeant major there were like, "Oh, so you're slow." I'm like, "Yes, right now, but if I run regularly, I get better." And so that was a goal for me to like get better. And we had one of my peers, she was always just fast. I wanted to just, I wanted to beat her, but in my
Okay, all
head,
right. Yes,
in
say
my
it.
head, I told myself I wanted to just be at her level, but deep down, and I remember we were taking a PT test, and by this point, my running has improved so much. I'm running 15-minute 2 miles, and I remember this PT test, and she's in front of me, and I am like it's that last, and I am just going, and I'm gonna get her this time. And I could have reached out and like touched her. I was so close and I just couldn't, I could never catch her. That was that day I ran a 14:49 or something. I hit the 14-minute
Yeah,
realm of running, but I still did not catch her. And but what's really cool about that is that in chasing her, in competing with her, I didn't want to compete with her on a level of let me trip her so she can fall so I can win. I wanted to beat her because that was also me beating myself.
yeah,
So it was like I was competing with her, but I was also very much competing with myself and trying to push myself to be better than what I had been. During that time in RTC, my colonel also said something to me that was that probably fueled this a little bit. In the beginning, I would run in like the slower group because I was kind of the fastest of that slower group. And she said to me, she would always be like, no, and make me run with the group that was faster than me. She's like, it does you no good to be the fastest in the slow group. It's better to be the slower one in the faster group. So it was all that's something that always stuck with me
yeah,
because it's always you have to push yourself beyond your limits, and even if you're the slowest of that next level, you're still there. And then eventually you'll get faster and faster and faster. But yeah, I wanted to beat her.
yeah. Well, you transitioned us into somewhere that I didn't want to go, but I feel like we have to go now because that whole analogy, but this was like real life, you know, you rather be the slowest person in the fastest group versus the fastest person in the slowest group.
Mhm.
It comes down to our network, right? And the people that we
Yeah.
surround ourselves with. I was talking to a friend recently about sort of a mutual friend, and we're just like, what's up with this person? Like, do they have the right people in their lives? You know, are
Mhm.
people holding them accountable? Are people telling them when these ideas aren't good? Or, you know, or are they just the smartest person in their like immediate circle and no one like says anything, you know? And we're like, yeah, well, if that's the case, then they definitely need to find, you know, different people, right? But there's a comfort zone of sort of knowing where you stand, where you know, kind of have an idea where you're going to finish,
Mhm.
the unknown of jumping out there, introducing yourself to you know, finding a new mentor or kind of joining a new group of folks that may be in a space that you're striving to be. You don't, it's not as predictable, right? There's so many things that can, you know, that whole imposter syndrome could set in and everything. So yeah, it's just a really interesting kind of points that you've made. You're
Yeah.
literally talking about running, but when you just talk about the folks that you run with, you know,
Well,
yeah,
it makes me think that that's why diversity in your network is so important. Because if you are only with that same group of people who think like you, talk like you, act like you, look like you're never going to be challenged. Like
mm-hmm,
you need people in that you need people pulling you forward and challenging you and calling you out
yeah,
if what you're thinking isn't you have
yeah,
to be challenged or there's no growth.
yeah, yeah. Um, the other point that you mentioned was sort of kind of pushing yourself. You had your personal best, even though you didn't beat her. You had your personal best. That's a
Yeah.
huge win. When I was younger, the only time I truly went all out to compete was like in basketball or like in football. And other aspects of my life, I never had the, I would say, the confidence to really like compete.
Hmm.
Um, in my book in Angelic Eights, when I talk about it's okay to have someone or some like folks that you're aiming for, you know, to help you pace
Yeah.
yourself, right? But then at some point you have to just realize that you're really battling yourself and that you're really just shooting to be the best version of you. And
Hmm.
you may point to a person to help push you, but ultimately you have to know you don't have a problem with that person. There's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't want to trip this person in order to win. You want them to do their best and you want to do your best.
Yeah.
And you may need like maybe able to like use them as fuel to help you to get your best. But at some point you have to realize it's about you,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. You said something though that triggered a thought. I had done a podcast with a friend of mine another time, and I had shared about, and I've said this before when I talk about my early journey into the military, but I was in a place in my life where I was following people and I was afraid I would follow someone off of a cliff. And she pointed out that even when I joined the military, I was still following. I was following people's guidance. I was following other people, but the people I was, and I guess this takes us back to the whole networking piece, but the people I was following were people that were striving for more and pushing me to do more and things like that. And then it did become more about I'm not following them because I want them to like me, or I'm not following them because of this. I'm following them because I recognize that that's going to get me to a better place and it's going to help propel me and it's going to push me and that type of thing.
No, that's a really good point. I you know, we the things that our parents told us or the things that we tell kids, it's so many just we're just basically talking out of both sides of our mouth all the time, right? We're like, don't be a follower, we say stuff like that. And then we're like, you see everybody else sitting still and look at
Right.
you acting like you don't got no sense. Everybody else is, it's like we do this
Yeah.
constantly. And um you hear don't be a follower, don't be a follower. You got to follow somebody. You want to be following the right people. You don't want to just be following whoever's in front. You want to be like, where are we going?
Yeah.
Why should we be going that way? Okay, I'll follow. And we can't be afraid to follow. We just have to be mindful of the folks that we're following,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I think it makes me think of like blind loyalty. So blind follow, don't just follow. Like I love how you said that. Okay, ask questions like where are we going? Why
Yeah,
are we going there? Like how is like that's important.
yeah,
So I love the way you said that.
yeah. Um, so I shared this quote with Zara, that it kind of came up on my memories, um, this morning. Fear missing an opportunity more than you feel failure.
Mm.
And she has a lot of nerves around the spelling bee earlier this week, and I get it. I try to put myself in her shoes, and I just didn't have that many opportunities for exposure like that.
Mhm.
And I told her, these things will get easier and easier the more you do them, but you shouldn't be like you. There's nerves, and we're not gonna just suppress that. Nerves to me means that you care.
Yeah.
I just think we have more opportunity to just connect with someone, to learn something about ourselves, to learn something about our surroundings that's more important than the way we may look to some people or
Hmm.
how we feel we may look. Like when you are coaching and speaking on imposter syndrome, like how do you put like a performance type of I'm in a new space, like how do you help folks work through that and their own sort of mental like impediments?
Well, I think it goes back to kind of what we were talking about before, or that came up is that comparison piece is be careful of comparing yourself to the people around you. Like you're in a new environment, you're just starting. You're not going to be maybe where somebody else is, but that doesn't mean that you're failing or you're behind. You just give yourself that space and time to learn. You were brought in for a reason. Like Zara made it as far as she did in that spelling bee for a reason. Like it's just reminding people of that. Like you are there for a reason. I want to, if you don't mind, kind of derail a little bit where you were going, because as you're talking about your daughter, it made me think of something, a conversation I had with one of my daughters this week. Is that okay?
It's your world, your world.
Thanks. But it's about, she was talking to me about they're learning about existentialism in
Mm,
ELA. And she was talking to me, and this is my 16-year-old junior, and she's just saying, she was explaining, breaking it down to me is that people who are existentialists, and I think I'm saying it right, just feel like there's no higher power, they have no purpose, all of this. And she's like, she was saying, that's kind of where I feel like I'm at. And I'm like, well, and she was saying because she has no control. Like we tell her when she has to go to bed, or we tell her what she could do. I was like, but you don't know how you're impacting other people. Like you don't know what impact you're having. So you feel like you don't have a purpose. You don't know if that smile that you gave a person today, if that brightened their whole world, or
yeah.
you said a kind word to somebody and that stopped them from going home and harming themselves in some way. You don't know what you're going to do in this life. And again, to bring it back to Zara and the spelling bee, like even her just getting up there, she doesn't know how who she might have inspired to
Mhm.
step out and do something that they never would have thought about. And it was just having that conversation with her just really made me think about that as like we never know what impact we have or truly we may have an idea of what our purpose is. We may have an idea of even
Sure.
like I see God in the background on your book, where God is leading us, but I lost my train of thought. I don't know. We don't we sometimes we just don't know.
Well, we may be, I think we may know what our purpose is, but we still don't know the impact that we're going to have.
The impact, yes,
Yeah.
that part.
We
Yeah.
we 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 haven't, intentions. Um but yeah, we don't know. And if you get up and let's just say, you're going to present, we both do our fair share of that. It's like you could look at the audience and be like, oh my gosh, I look at all these people or whatever. I wonder, but what if we just looked at it and went, man, I wonder who's the one person that really needs to hear this message today.
Yeah.
Like think about how we could get up there a little bit more relaxed and more
Yeah.
confident if we were like, man, there's one person in here that really needs to hear this.
I love that because I'm participating in a storytelling competition coming up very soon, and who knows, by the time this airs it might have passed, but either way, I I find myself feeling really nervous about it, but I love that because I know that there is something in the story that I'm going to share that will touch at least one person
Yeah,
out there. So I'm going to take what you just said and I'm going to remind myself of that as I'm going in because yeah, I know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, just look at your face when you lit up thinking about it. And you don't know
Yeah.
who it's gonna be, but yes, it's gonna reach someone, some part of that story. And and the other thing is, it doesn't matter how well you do or not. Eventually, it's gonna be over. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you'll have that experience to to call on for the next time. Um,
Hmm.
so Bryce, my son, he doesn't he never seen Kobe Bryant play basketball, but everything is he shoot Kobe. He's throwing clothes in the hamper, throwing you know paper towel in Kobe. And so I came across this video and I was like, "Do you know who this is?" He's like, "No." I said, this is Kobe, the guy that you're always yelling." And Kobe was just talking about the journey, how important the journey is, and the work that you have to do, not just each day, but it may be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and when you look over time, the progress that you've made, the way you've sort of separated yourself from the pack because of that time that you like, those things matter more than the actual destination. Because if someone just, you know, teleported you to the destination, it may feel good for a half a second, but that it would not last at all.
Yeah.
You work yourself up. You talk about 18, 19 minutes on a 2 mile, and then getting, breaking, 15 minutes, almost getting under 14 minutes. That's a huge, huge improvement. And at some point, you weren't leading the pack, but you had to feel great about where you started and how far you had come, right?
Oh, for sure. And you said, so I was on a call this morning, so I'm an ambassador. I'm supporting the Voices of Black Women. The American Cancer Society is doing this 30-year study. And one of the women on the call today, she said something that ties in with what you just said. And she said, what we do today will impact 30, 40, like years from now. And it's so similar to what you just said. So I had to throw that out there,
Yeah.
but it is like it's that work that you're putting in now, and you don't even sometimes know. Like going back to the running thing, did I know that I was going to get finally max my PT run or hit the high 14? No, but the journey, the pushing, the constant
Mm.
running, the getting uncomfortable,
Yeah.
the being uncomfortable
Yeah.
a lot. It takes that. Like that's where the improvement comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I want to close with this. And again, you've been segueing, like, I don't know, it's almost as if we planned this. Um, you talk about the impact. You don't know how things, what you're doing today. I had the pleasure of being in Grand Rapids recently for the Giant Awards, and they celebrate uh, community leaders, African American community leaders in the Grand Rapids area, and their contributions. This was the 42nd um, awards that they had, and they always and they're all named after someone is sort of in in the light of in the spirit of someone else who made this contribution. So they kind of they make sure that they mention the name of the award, what that means, and the person's contribution, and then they talk about the person who is being recognized, in this particular year. But someone said the folks that came before us, they didn't know who they'd be paving the way for.
Mm.
They just were doing the work that they were called to do. And we stand on these giant shoulders, right? And Lord willing, we have and will continue to be able to pave the way for folks. Some, live in our house. Some got our same face, right? And some are friends of those people or family members. And some people we don't know their names.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean we don't work as hard. That just means we work even harder because we're that's how you pay it forward, because there's doors that's been opened by folks I would never even know. And everyone that is recognized in these spaces like that, there's for every one person that's recognized, there's tens and tens and hundreds, depending on the city and the community, that are doing very similar work that are under the radar at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful.
Oh, okay. I guess we can
That's why I'm just gonna
mic
I won't
drop.
derail us somewhere else. I'm just like, no, it is. I mean, it's so it's so true. Like but it's also that reminder again that you may be that giant someday, that somebody, and that might not be what you're necessarily striving for, but because you're just doing the work, like you said, but you don't know, goes back to what I said to my daughters, you don't know who you're impacting
Hmm.
with what you're doing.
That's right. That's right. So
Huge.
shout out to the Giants. Shout out to the awards, and kudos to everyone who puts that on every year. All of the honorees, and I left there so inspired to just again,
Yeah.
wanting to do my part,
Hmm.
wanting to do. I wasn't on the heels of that give and take book that we mentioned.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I can't wait to. I would love to be recognized. It was more like what I do matters, and I just can't wait to like do more and help more folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay, I like how you said that about the what I do matters, and I'm gonna bring in something at church last week, and they were talking about just the way people serve God. And it was talking about people in the Bible and that it doesn't look the same for every person. Like one person maybe they're, doing this and the other person is serving in this way. And so it's everything that we do matters
yeah,
because and it doesn't have to look exactly like what the next person does. Maybe it's not as grand, maybe it's not as big, maybe it's not, but it's those little things and they ripple and they can really
yeah,
impact people.
yes, yes. We make ripples. Those are the inputs that we can control, and sometimes those ripples become waves. But that's because they've combined with another ripple, or the timing was right. It has a part to do with us, but so much more to do with just the timing and God's
Hmm.
timing of everything.
Yeah.
Some things will go and never be heard from again, and some will show their face in a way that once it comes back to us, we may not even recognize it was something that it was a seed that we planted. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So long ago. So um just to everyone, continue to do those things that matter to you, where you're uplifting and helping people, and you're paving the way for folks that you have no idea will be benefiting from your contributions. And um, what better way to kind of just tell everyone like a happy Black History Month. And Black history is American history. Um, no matter what folks may try to say.
Right.
And so again, everyone's contributions matter. So until next time, on behalf of Lorena, I am Baxter E. Thank you all for watching, listening. Please continue to support, and just know that you're all capable. You just need to embrace your own frequency. Until next time, peace.
Welcome into his brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Please subscribe, share, and also hit that notification button as well. Thank you so much.
Financial literacy to authentic Black history. This real rap.